In an age long forgotten, when the shape of the world was young and the oceans were wilder than today, a civilization existed whose brilliance has disappeared from every book, every scroll, every memory. Its name was Arelon, a city born not on the ocean, but inside it. Its towers glowed like living stars, rising between drifting currents. Streets were lit by floating orbs that moved like fireflies of the deep. Walls carved from crystal breathed with soft blue light. And in the heart of the city stood the great sphere known as the Heart of Kaelion, a glowing, living crystal that turned the ocean's rhythm into pure energy. Arelon lived in perfect harmony with the sea. To them, water wasn't an enemy. It was an ally, a friend. But one night, that friendship broke. The ocean suddenly went silent. No waves touched the surface, no currents moved beneath. Fish vanished. The Heart of Kaelion lost its steady glow and dimmed, as if something had stolen its breath. Its great pulse skipped. Once, twice, then weakened. Ancient stories whispered that when the heart lost its rhythm, the sea would return to reclaim what was promised long ago. Deep beneath Arelon, in the darkest trench of the ocean, something old began to stir. A force sealed away thousands of years earlier. A creature as tall as mountains, asleep for ages, now shifting in its prison. It had no name, except one passed down through frightened tales: the Titan. As the crystal weakened, tremors shook the city. Lights flickered, structures vibrated. The sea outside changed color, turning darker, heavier, as if watching. People rushed through glowing streets, unsure what was happening. Some climbed towers to look at the surface, only to see a sky without stars, covered by a swirling darkness forming above the ocean. The only hope of restoring the city's energy lay with Kaelion, a warrior scientist who once served as the guardian of Arelon. He had warned years ago that the heart was weakening, but no one listened. Hurt and disappointed, he left the city and vanished into distant lands. But when the tremors began, a message reached him through the ocean currents, a soft echo of the heart calling his name. Without hesitation, he returned, diving through the shifting waters toward the flickering glow of his home. As he entered the great chamber and placed his hand upon the heart, the crystal recognized him instantly. Light exploded around him, filling the chamber with a blinding brilliance. He felt the ocean trembling, heard the distant roar from the deep, and understood one truth: the Titan was awakening. Kaelion opened his eyes, and with the glow of the heart reflecting in them, he whispered the words that would mark the beginning of Arelon's final fight. "It's not too late. Not yet." Kaelion stood before the glowing crystal, its fading light pulsing weakly under his touch. He closed his eyes and let the ancient energy flow through him, letting it guide his breath, his heartbeat, his mind. The ocean trembled again, a deep vibration that felt like the pulse of something enormous rising from the abyss. Kaelion knew the Titan was no longer dreaming. It was waking. He stepped back, and the chamber around him cracked slightly as a shockwave moved through the city. Outside, towers shook. Light from the streets flickered. Arelon's people gathered in panic, staring through the transparent walls of their floating homes as shadows drifted below them. Massive shapes moving slowly in the darkness. Kaelion raced out of the chamber and ascended the crystal staircase that spiraled upward toward the central tower. The city below him looked wounded, like a star losing its shine. But he didn't stop. He climbed until he reached the very peak where the ocean's currents flowed strongest. There, he stretched his hand outward, connecting with the heart's energy still circling through him. The waters around him reacted instantly. Streams of glowing blue spiraled upward, swirling around his arms, then around his entire body. He felt the ancient bond returning, the bond only the guardians of Arelon once held. The heartbeat of the Titan echoed again, louder this time. Kaelion looked down and saw cracks spreading across the seafloor in a long, circular pattern. A giant ring of darkness began to expand, releasing air bubbles the size of houses. Then, something immense moved beneath, a shadow so large it broke the ocean's flow. Kaelion steadied himself. "It's coming," he whispered. Arelon's people gathered at the edge of the lower platforms, their faces filled with fear. Some prayed, some cried. Others simply stared, unable to understand the scale of what was rising beneath them. Kaelion knew he didn't have time to explain. The city had one chance, and that chance depended on awakening the heart fully, even if it broke him. He leapt from the tower and descended toward the ocean floor like a streak of light. The water parted around him as the heart's energy carried him downward faster than any human could swim. Beneath him, the Titan's prison cracked open, releasing a deep, earth-shaking growl that made the entire ocean vibrate. When Kaelion reached the bottom, he hovered in front of the glowing fissures. Inside them, he saw movement, a body made of stone and darkness, a colossal form shifting as if shrugging off thousands of years of sleep. He raised both hands and released the light inside him. Streams of pure blue energy shot outward, sealing the cracks, pushing the darkness back. The Titan roared again, louder, angrier, sending a shock wave upward that shattered parts of the lower platforms. Arelon shook violently. Dozens of crystals burst. Water surged into the city's tunnels. Kaelion pushed harder. Sweat mixed with glowing light around his eyes. His muscles trembled. The ocean itself seemed to resist him. But he didn't stop. He knew that if the Titan rose fully, the entire world's shape would change. Continents would shift, islands would crumble, and Arelon would be only the first to fall. For a moment, it seemed like Kaelion was winning. The cracks began to shrink. The darkness retreated. The Titan's breathing slowed. But then, something unexpected happened. The heart's glow inside him flickered. The energy dropped. The connection weakened. Kaelion gasped. The heart of Talion was running out of power. The crystal's ancient strength was finally collapsing, unable to sustain him for much longer. Above him, Arelon was no longer just trembling. It was breaking. He looked upward through the glowing water and saw the city's towers bending, lights fading one by one. Dozens of homes sank from their positions. Long trails of bubbles rose as structures collapsed under the strain. Kaelion clenched his fists. This can't be the end. But then, in the middle of the collapsing city, a single bright light burst open. The heart of Talion's final surge. It must have sensed the danger. It must have sensed him. The crystal gave everything it had left and sent one last massive wave of energy through the ocean. Kaelion felt it hit him like a thunderbolt. The ocean glowed. The cracks ignited with blue fire. The Titan screamed, a sound that shook every corner of the deep. Kaelion shouted with all his strength and pushed the energy forward, sealing the final breach, forcing the Titan back into its ancient sleep. The great creature sank into stillness, its massive form turning to stone once more. The fissures closed. The growl stopped. Silence returned to the ocean. Kaelion collapsed, floating in the glowing water, his body weak, the energy leaving him slowly. Arelon above him was still falling apart, but the city had been saved from total,